check this out. So I've got an assault rifle with an underbarrel grenade launcher. I shoot it at the wall explodes. I'm going to put another shot in. Shoot it at the wall explodes. I can then go through the hole in the wall that I've just made. Now look at the top of the screen. 5 capture points, A, B, C, D, E. Kind of like Conquest, right? 32 players. And guess what? I'm playing as a class. I'm playing as the assault class. And I can put a med bag down. That's going to heal me and my teammates in an aura. What does this remind you of? It's a bit Battlefield, isn't it? Well, this game is called Combat Champions. And it's got a really interesting story. And there's a ton of ex-Battlefield developers on this game. And I'm talking a lot of veteran developers too. People that worked at DICE for 10 to 20 years. And they were instrumental in some of the most popular games in the franchise, like BF3, which sold 25 million copies, and BF4. And they worked on some of the most popular maps in those games, like Siege of Shanghai, Grand Bazaar. So there's a ton of ex-DICE talent here. And you can feel that. It feels a lot like Battlefield. I would describe it as a mix between Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2 in terms of the gunplay and the movement. It's not too hardcore, not too milsim, but at the same time it's not too arcadey. The guns have recoil on them. You have to control them when you're full auto. It's a bit of a challenge, but at the same time it feels like you could master these weapons if you practiced hard enough. And you may have noticed in the last clip too, you can revive people. So when you die, you go down, you can be revived. You're in a squad. You can spawn on your squad. You can spawn on capture points. One of the classes has got spawn beacons, so you can make a little tactical flank, put a spawn beacon down, use that to your advantage. One interesting thing though about the revive system in this game, when you go down, you can be finished off. So in this clip here, you see how they're all kind of like writhing around on the floor. You can shoot them so they are dead. They go back to the respawn screen and can't be revived. It's almost like a double tap, right? So here you see I'm down, the guy runs up to me, finishes me off, and that means I go back to the spawn. There's no hope of being revived there. So while we look at some sniper gameplay on a different map here, I'm going to talk a bit more about the story of this game because I think it's super interesting. So the studio is called C77. It was founded in 2019. They started out with 6 employees, and these 2 DICE veterans were the driving force behind setting everything up. Matthias Kylan, I hope I pronounced his name right, and Kenny Magnusson. And they were working at DICE for years and years on various Battlefield games. I think they also did some work on a couple of Halo games and Mercenaries, if you remember that back in the day. And they told me the studio is around 25 people in total now, so it's still on the small side, but they've been building this new game over the last 5 years or so with the goal of creating a large action experience for PC and console. I think the plan is to release it on console too, but I might be wrong on that one. But the version that I'm playing here is on PC on Steam. I actually got to play this in March 2022. I was invited to come and play the game, test it, give feedback on it. But back then it was under NDA, so I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't show any footage of it or make videos, that kind of thing. It was just, you know, come play the game, let us know what you think. And the build of the game that I played in 2022 was white textures, very work in progress. There weren't many guns, there weren't many gadgets. I think there was about 2 levels in total. Some of the basic gameplay systems were in place, but a lot of other things weren't. So it's really cool to actually play it in May 2024 and see how much it's come on and improved. They've only got the 1 Conquest style game mode at the moment, but there are 5 classes in total. You've got your Assault, you've got your Breacher, the rocket launcher guy, the C4 guy, support guy, sniper, and they've all got different gadgets that they can use. So you can employ some team play and try and capture these objectives that are scattered around the map and win the game by owning more of them and accruing points. So if you've played any Battlefield game or Conquest, you're going to feel right at home here. There is a halftime element to this game where there's a mini game, I suppose, at halftime, and I think it gives you an opportunity to score some points. There can be different rule sets in the halftime though, so some that I played are Kill the VIP, where you have to eliminate the enemy's VIP and protect your own. There's one where everyone gets rocket launchers, for example, so the destruction just goes absolutely crazy. Or there's one where it's simply eliminate the other team and there's no respawns, and whichever team is the last standing, they will win the halftime game. Now, if you've been paying attention, you'd have noticed that there's no vehicles in the game. So even though this is a take on Battlefield Conquest, it doesn't include any tanks, helicopters, jets, transport vehicles, for example. It's strictly an infantry only experience. And here you're going to see the double tap. So I down that player and then I can finish them off by shooting them, get those extra hit markers, and that means that they're going to go straight back to the spawn screen. So it's just focused on the gunfights, the infantry. And in the past, Battlefield has had maps that are infantry only, and some of those maps have been very popular. Maps like Operation Metro, Operation Locker, Fort Devoe on BF1. On 2042, one of the most popular maps there was Redacted. So I think the devs here are definitely going for that audience that play Battlefield that just enjoy the infantry fights, where you've got the classes, you've got destruction, moving around larger maps where you can make some crazy, ambitious plays with all sorts of different weapons and gadgets. Within each class too, there's a few different unique weapon options. So the weapons are class locked, which is something that we don't have in Battlefield anymore. And I think they said to me that you'll be able to go in and modify them a little bit in terms of attachments and scopes, that kind of thing in the future. I think they've got a great foundation here. I found it inherently fun. I played it for a couple hours and I'm wanting to play more. And I can't believe it's taken this long for game studios to begin to try and emulate what Battlefield does best. I mean, I was talking about it in a video a couple weeks ago where we were discussing, hey, are there actually any alternatives or competition for Battlefield in terms of that combined arms sandbox experience that it offers? Yeah, this game doesn't have the vehicles, but I think in terms of the infantry play, it feels very similar, and as I mentioned, so far it's been pretty fun for me. I wouldn't expect a ton of post-launch content for this game though, if and when it releases, because as I mentioned, very small dev team, but I feel like it's just picked one thing to do well, and it's doing a pretty good job of that so far, in my opinion. In terms of when you can play it, I've got no obligation to make this video or even say this, by the way. I'm just putting the word out there because I think a lot of people that are watching this on my channel will like the look of this game and try and play it. So as a heads up, there is a playtest for this game on Steam on the 18th and 19th of May, where you just go on the Steam page and you request access, and I think you'll be able to get in, play for yourself, see what you think. As far as I was told, the point of that is to get some feedback and sentiment from the players. What do they like? What don't they like? And it will help the developers look at server performance, for example, that kind of thing. So watch out for that. I'll link it down in the description below too if you're interested in requesting access for that. Now, I don't know this for certain, but I assume that if and when this game releases, it will be a free-to-play title. It feels like that kind of thing. So could be potential for a decent sized player base here. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I didn't particularly like and how the game maybe held back from success because the developers asked me to be honest with feedback, so I will. The first thing is the name of the game and the way the logo looks, Combat Champions. It sounds very mobile game to me, and the branding screams that too. Perhaps I'm being a bit too nitpicky there, but that's how I feel. And the second thing is much more important. It's the overall aesthetic and the wrapper that they've put this game in, which is a game show format where there's a red team and a blue team. You play and fight in arenas. Sometimes they have stadiums. And each team has a mascot that's on the map at spawn. And there's commentators and narrators, which you can turn off to be fair. But then at halftime or during the intros, you see the players on each team dancing, celebrating, etc. There's fireworks and cheering in the background. Even the way the icons for each team look. I feel like many games have tried to do this in the last 10 years or so. In the shooter genre, they come and go pretty fast and it never sticks. It just doesn't work well in the FPS space. The problem with that, for this game in particular, is that people will look at the trailer and instantly make assumptions, having preconceived notions about what type of game this is, and not even bother to download or play it, which is the ironic thing, because it feels like a Battlefield game when you're playing it. And I'm trying to be respectful here. It doesn't feel like a mobile game, which is very basic in terms of the gunplay and the movement. On the surface, though, it might look like that to some people. I'm worried that the marketing and this quirky style will put so many multiplayer FPS players off before they even try the thing. Maybe that won't matter. Maybe I'm completely wrong about this, but that's my opinion. And the third thing is that there are some movement tech options in this game. For example, when you spawn, on most maps there are some slingshots there, and from your deployment you can get in the slingshot and throw yourself across the map, use your parachute and get to whatever capture point you want. Yeah, it's just a gameplay thing, but people who like Battlefield, Call of Duty might not relate to that very well. There are some other movement things too, like jump pads where you keep jumping on them and you gain momentum. You can jump higher and higher, or just things that boost you into the air. I don't think that is necessarily a bad or good thing in this type of game. It offers up some new gameplay opportunities. I think the intention here is that you can use it as an alternative
to getting in a helicopter or a jet and bailing out in a Battlefield game, for example, relocating and attacking from above. I had fun doing this kind of thing, injecting some Quake 3 Arena Unreal Tournament into Battlefield. However, on the flip side, there are definitely a lot of FPS gamers out there that want to be boots on the ground only, just work in that grounded infantry space. They feel like they can relate to that more on a tactical level and understand it a bit better. Sometimes it doesn't quite gel for me as a whole package. Another example is the guns. They look like real guns that you know, apart from the red and blue accents. I assume they're going to have skins. And you've got that tight gunplay there that feels good, but you're in this world that doesn't reflect that based on your previous experiences. Same for the way that the soldiers look on each team. So they've got the tactical gear. They look like soldiers, helmets, knee pads, chest rigs, all that stuff, but they're covered in blue and red highlights. And that kind of thing doesn't really work that well for me. Gameplay will always be king though, keep that in mind, but sometimes you have to get people in the door in the first place to try it out. But you know, as I mentioned, just my preferences, this might be the perfect game for other people exactly the way it is, and that's fine. If they didn't want to change a thing, that's okay. But that's the point in running tests, isn't it? Alphas, betas, demos, gathering feedback from lots of players with different opinions and proclivities is important. And that's all for today, folks. I want to say a big thanks again to C77 for giving me access to this and letting me record and make a video. Super cool of them, and I wish them massive luck with the game. It can't be easy starting a new studio and trying to get a product out there. Once again, playtest 18th and 19th, link below. Request access on Steam if you want to check it out during that weekend. Let me know your thoughts below, guys. Appreciate you being here. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.